in the parking lot, we were just minding our own business, like in our minivan, probably smoking weed, probably listening to music like we did before every single show, not giving anybody any trouble. Like literally, we were just like shy, and we were just like all just like very reserved, like introverted dudes. All of a sudden, an entire straight edge gang wants to fucking kick our ass.
Welcome to the 95th episode of the Cast That Ends Creation. I'm your host, Chris Deering. This is the show I interview bands, mathcore and mathcore adjacent bands, and community members. If you people in chat have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in. I'll try to read them aloud. If you like this up for $5, get access to some exclusive emotes, as well as early access to all the interviews before they hit YouTube and streaming platforms. You can also sub for free by attaching Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. It's like taking $5 from Jeff Bezos' pocket and putting it into mine. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this in your car and have no idea what I'm talking about, the show is first recorded live on Twitch. Join us every Sunday and Wednesday at twitch.tv/thecast@ins-creation for the live cast. With all that out of the way, let me introduce our guest today, who's part of one of the biggest bands of the MySpace deathcore era. Welcome in Daniel McBride of Last House on the Left. How's it going?
Yo, thanks for having me, man.
Dude, absolutely. Sorry for that crazy intro, just stumbling all over my tongue today. So you're a drummer for Last House on the Left. Take us back to when you first joined the band, because you're actually not the first drummer, even though you're on all the material. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, okay, yeah. So I should clarify. When I first met the guys, they had a drummer named Chris, and they actually would come to my place to jam on my drum set and like use my jam space and stuff. And they actually tracked their first demo, which is the Night of Terror EP. And that's not on any like streaming platforms or anything like that. Some people might have the MP3s, but so he played drums on those, and I actually tracked them in my house, and they put those out, and then they would kind of come over, and Chris would kind of leave the room, and I would hop on my own drum set and jam with them and like jam the same songs, and with Chris like on the other side of the wall, and I would play, and they were just like, shit, this guy's obviously like Chris is a great dude, like, but at the time, like, it was just like, oh damn, well we want to play with this guy, like he's got a drum set at this cool house, and we can make all this noise all the time, and Did the other guy not have his own set or something, or was it just like he easier? Did? Yeah, they were like jamming in his garage and stuff. But he was like still like a beginner and like intermediate drummer. But I started really early, and I had a really nice drum kit thanks to my stepdad at a very young age. So I think I just sounded better on my own kit than he did. Maybe that was it. But anyway, so we started. I don't know what actually happened or how they broke the news to him that they were replacing him. Hold on, let me back up a little bit. I actually played guitar in the band for technically 2 shows. Our first 2 shows, one was like a garage show for like friends, and the second was an actual show. And I played guitar. And
so multi-instrumentalist then.
And I was terrible. I was like literally just playing, bar chords, like, and just there on stage and just to be there. And then at some point, they just kind of replaced him, and I became the drummer. And then, from there we started playing shows in like 2000. This was like 2005 when we started.
So, when I was researching you guys, it's hard to find anything before 2010, but what I did find was that y'all did release an EP and a split, I believe, before the Road Leads to Nowhere. Is that correct? Y'all did a split as well?
Yeah. So the EP is the Night of Terror that I just mentioned with Chris on drums. It's really rough quality, and the songs are very rough too.
What about the split?
The split was okay. So the split was, I was on the split. We did a split with Code of the Zodiac, which was another band from Albuquerque, which we all just hung out all the time. We were like the same pool of friends that just happened to be in 2 different bands, and great dudes. They were like kind of like more of like a Black Dahlia Murder sort of like a straight up death metal band. Like there was nothing core about them. They were sick. And we put out, it was like 4 tracks each or 5 tracks each, and there's some songs on there that we ended up redoing, and some songs on there that we just let die. But my buddy Jeremy Mader was on guitar at the time. Our second guitar, him and I were like making our own music before Last House came along. And so it was almost like we kind of just merged our projects together. And so Jeremy helped write like Never Seen Again, which is one of our like more popular songs. And then he dipped out and we got a second guitarist named Chris Smith. And then, yeah, from there we wrote The Release of Nowhere, and we tracked that in 2006 while we were still playing a lot of shows at the time too. But yeah, that was a process. I think we tracked for The Release of Nowhere in like January of 2006, and we released it in like November of that year. So we, took our time tracking, and when we finally got to the mixing point, we had a guy who really knew what he was doing, but had never really recorded anything like this before. Like he recorded more like hard rock and like radio friendly rock. And so we came along. I don't want to
sound like a dick, but you guys do sound a little thin compared to some of the other metal bands around, like on that release. So I could totally see that.
Yeah, it's a different like perspective, like approach to it, I guess. Like he is almost like keeping your blinders on, and like you're not like doing research to like see what these other bands in our genre are sounding like. He was just like, all right, I'm gonna do my thing, but I'm gonna make it heavy. I think it stood out, and I agree. That's why we had it remixed and remastered twice since then. So it sounds a lot better now. The
new stuff sounds great.
Yeah, we sound way more pissed off. I don't remember us being so pissed when we tracked it. These new mixes and masters, like way more aggressive sounding somehow. It's almost like there was like a knob for that, or like a dial to. It's like, all right, these guys need to sound more pissed off. Like, here we just crank it up. Yeah. And so when I heard that, I was like, yo, I was like hitting up Tyler, our singer, like, dude, you sound so much more like angry. And like he agreed. He's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't remember this at all. Like, but yeah, it's, a nice little time capsule of where we were with the band. But like, when we recorded that, I think a big part of us and the different production also mixed with the fact that like these dudes that I was jamming with were straight up death metal kids. Like death metal was all they were into. They didn't listen to metalcore or hardcore or anything, and I did, and Jeremy did, the guitarist that I was just talking about. Like we listened to shit with breakdowns, and that's the heaviest stuff that we listened to was probably Pantera. We didn't listen to like Tyler and John were obsessed with like Vital Remains and like Decapitated and like all these, like I could go on like just straight death metal bands. And so when we started writing songs,
besides Pantera,
we were like, I think my gateway into metalcore, like a lot of people, was like Killswitch Engage and like As Lay Dying. But my gateway into metal, I should rewind back to like freshman year in like 99 when Slipknot came out. So that's what got me into like I went and bought a double pedal that weekend after I heard the Slipknot's first album. So fast forward, getting into metalcore and bands like As Lay Dying, Killswitch, and stuff like that, and then being showed other like real like East Coast metalcore like Misery Signals and bands with really good drummers. That's what I cared about the most. Like if a band, like if the drums weren't good, I wasn't really interested into it. But like Misery Signals, like their drummer is insane and his style is so unique. So I picked up on like this approach to death metal riffs and death metal like vocals and lyrics and stuff like that. And then over time, like they started listening to the stuff that I was listening to, and I started listening to the stuff that they were listening to. And I think that's where you get Among Flies, is like when our influences like really started to like meld. But I think The Road Leads to Nowhere was like almost like a, kind of like colliding, two worlds colliding.
Okay, so I figured that y'all were like, y'all would be like sharing music at that point, like that y'all would be like listening to
a little bit
music at that point. But
a little bit, sure, but like we would find common ground in some things for sure. Like if they were, but like a lot of the stuff that they were listening to was just straight blast. I couldn't blast beat, like I could never go insanely fast.
You did a couple times. Come on,
a couple times. So I can never like, I couldn't do a song that's just that. You know what I mean? Like the entire time, I could do like bursts. At the time, I can't now. Fucking no way. But
it's interesting that you say they were into like Vital Remains and Decapitated and stuff, because what they're playing is like straight up melodic death metal. You know what I mean? Like it's not like super blasty and stuff. So
Sure, I think that's kind of like we kind of like maybe well, it's probably because the drums aren't like that. Maybe like there's some parts that it wasn't like straight up like it's not like we're like playing Sepultura riffs or like like Carcass riffs or anything like that. But I think we like kind of just like had to adapt to each other, and over time we kind of really fell into we found our groove, I think. But
it always sounded like a cohesive thing. Like it never sounded to me like things weren't that y'all weren't on like, the same page or anything like that.
The fans in Albuquerque certainly had an argument about it. Like, before people were saying deathcore, it was either you're a metalcore band or you're a death metal band if you're playing, stuff like we were. And depending on the band that we were opening for that night or the other local bands on the bill, and the crowds that they brought out, like, there would be nights where it was only moshing, or there would be nights where it was just straight up hardcore dancing in the pit, or more times than not, it was a mixture of both. And Albuquerque was like very territorial is a word, I guess, but at that time, like people who were moshing didn't like to see kids hardcore dancing and flailing around. They thought it was dumb. And then like the people who were having a great time hardcore dancing didn't appreciate these, toxic, dudes moshing and, pushing them around and bullying them. And like a lot of times fights were broken out and, spilled out into the compound, like parking lot. It's like we played in a strip mall on a busy road. So I'm sure there were plenty of nights where you were just driving on San Mateo Boulevard and you look over and you just see, chaos, like you just all these kids in black shirts and just like, fist fights and, people smoking and everything is insane. But, nothing bad ever happened with the cops or anything like that. I don't think everyone really got hurt, but there was that period for a while before acceptance of any sort where is,
No, I was like that too. I was a metal purist back when I was in high school and like deathcore was coming out and stuff. Like if it had open note breakdowns, I was not about it, man.
I think, well, back then, like a lot of the tour packages were very mixed up too. I think like a lot of that, you'd see a death metal band playing right after a straight up like East Coast hardcore band. And so, the kids that came out to the shows, it was always interesting, like such a melting pot. But I don't think we ever really like played a show where it was just people who came to see us. Like we had a lot of popular local bands like Last 15 and -7 and other bands who like really brought the crowd. And like we could never really tell, like, the kids were enjoying us, but like, like we only played one really like our CD release show, which was probably our best show.
CD release show.
Yeah, or for the Road Leads to Nowhere in 2006. People were, we headlined, sounded great. Like we had, we like brought in a proper sound dude and, we packed the place and they stayed there for us. And that was like the first show where we were like, okay, like maybe, they do care about us. Cause for a long time, like with all that conflict, like we couldn't really tell if like people like were into us for a while. And there was even people who would, talk shit on MySpace or whatever. And like, or you'd find out through the grapevine that someone in another band is talking shit and it's like, why? Like, what are we doing? Like, but then we had that show and it was like, okay, like the people in Albuquerque, like, they came to see us and they actually care. And, even if it was just a couple hundred people, like, before that it was rough though, for sure.
Were you all like high school kids at the time or?
I'm like 2 or 3 years older than the rest of the guys. So when I'm class of 03, so they must have been class of 05, I think.
Okay. So they were fresh out then.
When we played those first shows, when I was playing guitar, I think they had just graduated. They were just beginning to graduate because that was like a high school like garage show that we played. But yeah, so they're like 2 years younger than me, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So before we go further, I just want to go back and talk about the name of the band. So was it named Last House on the Left when you joined?
Yeah, it was totally. So yeah, Tyler, our vocalist, he's a huge, horror movie aficionado, I suppose you would say. And the whole thing about,
you can totally tell from the lyrics, by the way, like there's so many.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, like, yeah, we can go into that for a while, but Tyler is like a writer before anything else. So, he loves a good story, and he has a very extensive vocabulary. And I honestly think he's really overlooked as far as like, I mean, there's some bullshit lyrics out there, man. Like, there's some bands talking about some just like made up bullshit, but like Tyler, not to like talk shit on bands, it's obviously an issue.
A lot of bands like talk about
like
the
a lot
same
of bands,
stuff, and it gets rehashed a lot.
Yeah, it's like, okay, come on. But like he, wrote stories like, if you read some of our, like they're like about someone who is going through this and then, discovers this, and then, and, it's like very thought out and methodical. But I forgot where we were even going with that. Where did I spun off on Tyler?
I was just wondering, like, because being named Last House on the Left, like that has to have hurt you guys, like at least a non-zero amount. You know what I mean? Like people like looking up stuff online or whatever, like looking for you guys and can't find anything because they see like just the movies all over the place. So was there ever any like conversation about you guys changing the name?
So the timing on that was funny. Obviously, there's the OG Last House on the Left, the movie, which came out in the 70s. Like Wes Craven directed that. And that's the one that the band is named after. And it's because that movie was like, it's not really a horror movie. It's just really fucked up. And it like really
exploitation film.
At the time, it really pushed the boundaries of what was acceptable in a film like that and what you could actually get away with. And like, it wasn't like just like some like slasher, like, with like, jump scares and stuff. It was just like,
I'm pretty sure it got like banned in a couple places.
Yeah. And the soundtrack, there's a song on the soundtrack. It's an old acoustic track, and it's called "And the Road Leads to Nowhere." So that's where we came up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's actually a great song. It's like an old folky, like acoustic song. You should check it out. That movie's a cult classic, and that was the whole thing too. Like cult classic, like slasher, movies like that. That's a big part of the theme early on in the band and our imagery, and
well, sure, but you guys had to have like thought that this would just hurt your like marketability or whatever, at least, or like getting signed to a label. Obviously, you did, but still, like you would think that would. Yeah,
not until the remake came out in like 2000, like end of 2008 or 2009. It must have been, because that's when the shitty remake came out with Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. I think he's in it. But we were playing a couple shows on tour at the time. We played in San Diego. I remember that night they had someone at the show handing out Last House on the Left movie posters, like a street teamer almost. And we came outside and we saw that, and we thought we were like in trouble or something. We were like, okay, now this movie knows who we are. Like, are we like in trouble or something? We never heard anything about it. But that was right at the same time we put out Among Flies. It's like all of a sudden there's this movie out there called Last House on the Left. And
perfect timing.
Again. Yeah, so I never really knew how to look at it, but like I remember we posted a blog when the movie was first announced, and just like Tyler was like very adamant on an all caps blog of being like, just for the record, we named ourselves after the original movie, not the shitty remake. Like just get your facts straight. Like we don't want to hear it. Like all this stuff. Like it was like, I don't know, it was funny, but it never hurt us. But yeah, I remember like having that thought, like, oh shit, is this movie company gonna like come after us in some capacity? I don't know, but no, it didn't happen.
So there was never any talk in the band about changing the name at all then?
Not at that point. No, we were fine with it. Yeah.
Well, so later on you were saying that there is.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. No. So like never. Okay. Cool.
Like maybe like when that happened, like, if we would have got hit up by that movie company, they were going to sue us, we probably would have figured something out, but no, we didn't give it any real thought. Yeah. No.
Covered a lot of stuff already. So what was the writing process like back in the days?
Getting stoned in my room and just like John was great at improving, just busting out stuff. A few of our songs.
John's the lead guitarist, right?
Yes, John. Yeah, John Singleton. Early on, a few of the songs were already written when I hopped on drums, like Some Like to Bleed and In My Skin, I think. They were played differently, and I kind of gave them my own spin and made them a lot faster. When the old drummer was like, their songs were really slow, like when I started playing with it. And then when I would hop on my drums, that they would play way faster. And I think that's what they're like, that's probably what made them figure it out. It was like, oh, we can play these songs faster and sound good. Like they don't have to play them like super slow. Like, yeah, that must have been it. But yeah, so yeah, John and I just clicked, man. Like he could literally, I just like counted off, and he would play, a riff, and then all of a sudden we'd just be in it for 10 or 15 minutes. And a lot of the times, he would bring something over that he already had pretty mapped out, but it was definitely like me and him structuring everything. And Tyler would come in with vocals once we had that figured out. And when we would record, Tyler needed time to actually like write the vocals and stuff. So when we would jam, he would just be kind of bullshitting, along, or like, just kind of making up like patterns to see what worked a lot of the times. But we didn't have like definitive lyrics until things were recorded. So yeah, like
so it's a very collaborative effort then.
Yeah, definitely between John and Tyler and I. Yeah, for sure. And then eventually we, in the Among Flies days, we got a second guitarist named Jake, who really contributed to like the vibe of the album. Like he did all the piano interlude stuff on Among Flies.
Oh, really?
And like
okay.
really, yeah, he helped with that, and kind of giving more of like that kind of black metal sort of, like, not that I use that, I shouldn't even use that word, but that album definitely
I
more
see what
like,
you're saying, make it more like darker or whatever, more
yeah, a little bit more atmospheric and everything. Than
atmospheric, there we go.
Yeah, compared to the Release to Nowhere, they're definitely different in that regard. Like the Release to Nowhere is just like raw guitar, bass, drums, and Among Flies is like, yeah, definitely more like cinematic sounding almost, I think.
So I think most deathcore bands, like around the time when you guys were like starting to get your stuff out, I think well, for first of all, like there's definitely a huge Black Dahlia Murder like sound coming out of you guys, and I think most deathcore bands around the time had some kind of like Job for a Cowboy, As Blood Runs Black influence in them. What were some of your big influence? I know that you said you had your own personal big influences like Misery Signals and such, but what about the rest of the band?
Yeah, I think once we started playing shows and when we were on MySpace, like looking out for, new music and or just hearing about the bands that were coming through on tour. And that's when we started listening to similar stuff. Like I was talking about before, like we didn't really have like common musical interests, but then like, yeah, once we like figured out who we were as a band, then we were listening to bands like My Bitter End and like Invocation of Nihik and Through the Eyes of the Dead. All Shall Perish was probably one of our biggest influences, and Antagony equally. Antagony, anything that like, yeah. Once we figured out that like, oh shit, there's bands out there doing like melodic death metal that sounds that with breakdowns, like that's when things clicked for us, because that's what we were always trying to do. We just didn't know that it was already being done. You know what I mean? Like, and then once we found those bands, Vehemence is another really good example too, because they're playing death metal with really catchy riffs, like rhythmic riffs, not necessarily breakdowns, but they're just like really rhythmic and melodic and catchy. And yeah, once we started figuring it out, like, yeah, bands are doing stuff like this, we're onto something here. I think, yeah, that's when really things came together for us. But yeah, bands like that, and then our like label mates like Knights of the Abyss and The Breathing Process, and bands like that for sure. Abigail Williams was also another one. We really fell in love with that band together for sure.
So you were mentioning that there was like kind of a battle, I guess, between the different scenes back in your y'all's local scene. Were y'all like the only band that sounded the way that y'all did, or did y'all have other ones?
There was more like metalcore bands at that point, or like straight hardcore bands, I think, or straight death metal bands. I think we were probably the first deathcore band to come around in Albuquerque. But like I said, at that time, there wasn't that title or that label. I shouldn't say.
Makes sense that y'all
brand,
the first one.
Yeah, and then from there, like there were some other bands that kind of around the same time, maybe a little bit after it started popping up, like Marcus Aurelius and Eat a Helicopter. They're another
Eat the Helicopter?
Eat a Helicopter. They are actually pretty popular. They're like, it's between us and them, like who's like the most popular deathcore band from Albuquerque, and they got some pretty good hype. I
gotta look this up. Eat a Helicopter. Yeah. Okay, I'm writing it down. Bro.
Yeah. Shout out Alex. Shout out Alex Sterling.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I'm at the time, yeah, we were probably like the first, yeah. But then it definitely caught on, and yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just needed some time. Albuquerque is always a little bit late to the party. I feel like too. I feel like you know, we kind of hopped on late there, but I think we were a little bit ahead of our time at the same time. Like I said, that when we found out other bands were doing the same thing that we had just figured out we could do, like, you know, and the fact now that people are like, you know, coming across us when we announce our vinyl, and like maybe we're getting some new fans now, or the people who are commenting that like, oh yeah, I remember this band, like they're sick, or I still listen to them. Like, I think that, you know, kind of says something too, is because like, you know, if you're still able to listen to that kind of stuff now, then, you know, maybe, I don't know, you get what I'm getting at? Like, I appreciate that people are still like finding it and listening to it now, that it's not just like some shit that's like, oh God, who can listen to this anymore? Like, some stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't sound dated.
To some people, I would hope. Sure. Yes.
So in 2008, you guys dropped your full length Among Flies through Ferret. How did you hook up with them?
So that was actually distributed in the United States through Ferret. The label that we were signed to was Siege of Amida. They were a UK label. So
oh my God, that makes so much sense. Okay, because I saw a post where you were saying that they were like letting y'all use Among Flies like however you wanted to, and I was like, wait, weren't they on like Ferret? How did? Because I knew there was some weird stuff that went on with like some of the labels and stuff. So okay, that makes so much sense.
When Siege of Amida started, I think the first band that they had Rose Funeral, they had Knights of the Abyss, they had Eliza or Alicia, I don't even fucking know how to say that name. And Alicia, yeah, that's right. But yeah, they were a UK label, and they had distribution through Candlelight for the States. Candlelight was a very like black metal label, and then at some point they switched over to Ferret, like right before we put out our album. So that really helped us out. Ferret had great PR. Like they actually, you know, hired someone to do press for us for a period of time, who actually did a good job, and you know, they helped with the mastering and stuff like that, and the artwork and the layout and all that stuff. Other than that, we had no interaction with any labels like it, or with anyone from the label. They just kind of helped us get it out there, and they got it out there, and then kind of just never heard from anybody again. So that was it. But it was fun. I mean, just I remember I actually reached out to CJ Amida's MySpace page, just like, hey, check us out. And they actually got back to us, and then they signed us through a MySpace message, and we never.
What?
I don't think we ever like really signed
I hear
a
about that kind of thing happening, but I never like talked to somebody where that's actually the case. So how does that work? Like, they're just like, yeah, man, we'll sign you.
I mean, yeah, that was basically it. Like, hey, you know, like, check us out, and the dude is like, hey, sounds good. Like, like that was it. He had like, we had just put out The Road Leads to Nowhere, and then so that's when we messaged him. And he was like, well, we can't, you know, like re-release this at this point. You've already put this out, like, as much as I would like to. Like, maybe if you guys hit me up like a month like before, we could, you know, put this out together. But so we put that out by ourselves. We only printed 250 CDs that were actual CDs. Everything else from there on was just a burnt CDR with Sharpie on it. And so, but it was just like decided then, like, all right, your next album, you know, we'll release it. And it took us like 2 years to put together, or like a year and a half to put together, and then another 6 months for it to come out. But that's where that ended up, just a MySpace message. And
that's crazy.
Don't be afraid to shoot your shot out there, you know? So
that's awesome. And I assume they like helped you like get on tours and stuff like that, or because I can't see like your past, like what kind of tours and stuff you guys were on. So how did that work out for you guys?
That was not too extensive at all, our touring history. We probably played Albuquerque and New Mexico like easily over 100 times, maybe over 150 times. We only played out of state maybe a dozen times. And those were on like a 10-day run or so with Antagonist from LA, and those were our homies. They basically invited us to come with them. They did all the work. We just showed up. It was great. Shout out to Carlos and Lond. And then we played 2 shows with Danzig in California. He invited us to come with him on some California shows.
Is that because
Danzig.
you're called Last House on the Left, or was it something else?
No, we actually. So our relationship with Danzig goes back to the time when I forgot how we opened for Danzig in Albuquerque, but he was playing in Albuquerque, and we were somehow asked to open, probably just by the promoter, because he assumed that we'd be a good fit. And we really hit it off with his tour manager, Russ, Danzig's tour manager, I should say. And after we played with Danzig, is it too early for me to go into this story?
Dude, go for it, man. We got it. Okay. This is perfect.
I gave you the heads up already that I really wanted to tell the Danzig story. So, so we played with Danzig in Albuquerque, and Russ is like, "Hey, come around the bus afterwards so he can sign your laminates for you." And Tyler and John, at this point, absolutely worship Glenn Danzig, like in every aspect. Like they are huge Danzig and Misfits fans. They wear Danzig shirts. Tyler has Danzig skull tattooed on. They love Danzig. They're geeking out. And me, I'm like, I know he's sick. I know he's, a big deal, but I couldn't, I don't have Danzig tattoos. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
right. Yeah, I can't name it. Well, there's that one song, Mother or something, but that's the only one I know.
Yeah, he's a legend. Sure, I'll give him that. So he goes out there and crushes it in Albuquerque on stage. He's, he's got his shirt off. He's all buff and just fucking sweaty and just belting it out. And, so we're lined up outside the bus, and Russ, the tour manager, is like, "All right, come on." And, he just got out of the shower. So we go on his bus, and it's like, the blue lighting, just like dim blue lighting. And it's just Danzig, just by himself. And he's got the table, and he's got a big fruit tray, like a party sized fruit tray, just for himself. Probably just,
Okay.
like it was leftover catering, but it's massive fruit tray. And he was watching Cinemax, like softcore, like lesbian porn.
Okay.
Like just 2 chicks making out. 2 chicks were making out on his TV. I don't know I shouldn't say it was like porn. 2 chicks were definitely making out on his TV while he was eating the fruit. And he was just out of the shower, so his hair was completely drenched, and he was in a black turtleneck sweater. Like turtleneck all the way up there. It was like November, okay. I think. So, it was cold outside.
That's still hilarious.
Just Danzig, fruit tray, chicks making out, blue lights, wet hair. Did I say turtleneck already? Yeah. Yeah. And then he goes to shake our hands, and it's like piano handshake, just delicate, just cloud handshake, just like, hello. And I'm just like, nice to meet you, man. Tyler and John, I look back at them, and it's like that saying, like, don't meet your heroes or whatever it is, because they might disappoint you or whatever. I just like, see, they weren't like disappointed, but they were just like, this is not how I expected my first meeting with Danzig to be.
Now your hand's all sticky because he's eating all his fruit and stuff.
No. He was honestly like, he was the nicest dude. He was he's like, did you guys have a good time out there? Like he was like genuinely, interested in if we were having a good time, and he signed everything. He was super gracious, and we went on our way. And then I just remember like the door shut behind us, and we're outside of the tour bus, and we're just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, it's very surreal. And
this is why he doesn't want people taking pictures of him. He doesn't want to be seen in his turtleneck, man. But he loves.
He's a sweetheart. He's a sweetheart deep down. Like, that's it. Like, he's just such a teddy bear, and I don't think he likes people to know that. Like, I don't know, but like, no hate on Danzig here. No hate. He's eating fruit. He's staying healthy. That's cool. So
staying in shape by moving bricks and stuff. Yeah.
Or kitty litter, whatever.
Kitty litter. Those are some old memes that people listening to this have no idea what we're talking about. Y'all should awkward, definitely Google Glenn Danzig and bricks and kitty litter.
And kitty litter, yeah.
So, I could never find an actual statement about when you guys broke up, but I did see a post saying that you guys broke up in the summer of 2010. There's a post around there canceling an appearance at the Gathering of the Sick. I guess that's when it happened.
The time frame sounds right. Yeah, it was definitely like summer 2010.
What happened?
I don't know. It's kind of, I think Tyler would be the first to like admit that he was going through some shit at the time. Like, it wasn't like anything bad. Like, it wasn't like on drugs or anything like that. It's just like very like negative Nancy, wet blanket. You know what I mean? Like, he was kind of hard to be around. everything for whatever reason, we didn't know if he was just like stressed out or like just very irritated all the time. And like, just would kind of like, if he wasn't in a good mood, then he just kind of, made sure everyone else wasn't. And he got through that, luckily, because it took us like 4 years of him and I not talking to get over everything. We're great now. Like we talk on the phone for like hours at a time sometimes. So, but he would be the first to admit that he was going through some shit and he was hard to be around. And, I've heard myself call him an asshole back then, but it kind of sucked to like be so close with someone on like such a creative level. Him and I ran the band together. It was him and I, like John wrote, Tyler and I dealt with everything else. And, it was like very just back and forth. Like, and he wanted to be in control of a lot of things. And there were some things I didn't really agree with at the time. And it was just, I guess you can just kind of default it down to like the generic cliche creative differences, explanation. And it sucked because, John and Tyler were best friends since like they were kids. And then John and I became so close, through being with the band, much closer than Tyler and I were at the time. We're much closer now, but, it's like John was kind of caught right in the middle. Like, I didn't want to hang out. Tyler didn't want to see me. We didn't want to hang out, but like, it was really weird. So John and I would still, after we broke up, we would still jam and we would still write. And, we had stuff done and it just never came to light. So that kind of sucked. Like we wanted to keep something going. And then I took a job offer that moved me out of Albuquerque to LA to work with Sumerian, where I am now. So there's not much that could have been done there. It's like I had to dip out, and it was like we had just kind of written a lot of stuff, which we had kind of teased for a while.
We'll get to that. We'll definitely get to that.
Yeah.
I do want to mention, it looks like the last show for you was the last show for the Compound as well. Is that the case?
That sounds right. Yeah,
that's like y'all. That seemed like y'all's like home base essentially was the Compound.
Totally.
So it's fitting that's like your last show was their last show too. Like I thought that was really
yeah, I never really thought about it like that because at the time when we played that show, I don't think we knew it was our last show. Like I think we broke up after, and we just never really had like a farewell. Maybe at the time, like we kind of felt like something was going to happen, but yeah, I don't think we like advertised it as our last show. We definitely advertised it as the Compound's last show, but it just happened. Yeah. And then we were just kind of like, fuck, it sucks.
So you guys broke up. Then in December of that year, there's a post saying that you and John are doing something. Then in 2013, you guys announced a reforming and made a website called fearthehowl.com, and we're teasing what seemed like a new album called Beware, with B/where, like beware, but beware. Anyway, and you posted a snippet of the song called The Perfect Choke, which I thought actually sounded pretty decent. Then in 2014, you teased an album called Animism, and the last update we got was from 2016 saying you guys were recording new stuff. So does this material exist? Is there like an album sitting out there somewhere? What's going on?
There's like a lot of pre-pro, like, no vocals, no bass, just guitar and drums. Like John has a lot of stuff, like, and, he really developed my approach to drumming over the time that we jammed together. So like a lot of the stuff that we have is just like, he programmed drums how I would play them. And it's pretty spot on to like what I would do. So yeah, there's a good, I don't know, probably 20 incomplete songs out there at least that we have, and we had plans, and just it's so hard with there are all these different things happen in our life, like with me moving out to California to take a job and having to leave Albuquerque, and me and Tyler not really being on the best terms, but John being there right in the middle. He just wanted to make music, man, so he just kept making it. And then like so every now and then we're just like, all right, we're going to do this. And we would start talking again, and then something would happen. And right after we would announce it, or something like a major life event, like me getting cancer in 2016, or
you got cancer.
John,
damn dude.
Yeah. I was diagnosed with cancer in 2016.
Jeez, well, you look great, man. Holy crap. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. It was very, non-aggressive. I got dealt a very good hand of cards to be dealt, and took the whole summer of chemotherapy, and still like feeling like some after effects. I don't know if it's from the chemo or from the cancer, like 5 years later, but in remissions for 4 years. So everything's good there.
Nice.
But like that, set things back. John shattering his entire left arm set things back. Yeah,
that would, yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and we had a lot of deaths in our families on a collective level too. It was just shitty timing. But we do, and plus, John is in a band currently, an Albuquerque local band called Anesthesia. They're more of like a straight, just metal band, and he's very busy with them. He's very busy writing with them and playing shows, and they're doing good, and he's having a lot of fun doing that. So his creative energy likely should be going into the band that he's actually in, not the band that he was in. So I don't, blame him for putting more eggs into that basket right now. But hopefully, if he's listening to this, he'll find the time to maybe send me a new idea or something sometime soon.
So there's no plans to like release anything new, but like there could be in
not
the
at this time. No, yeah, we need to. I mean, unless people are interested in super rough, pre-production demos of stuff, like maybe we could drop something. But I don't see us ever getting into like a studio, to like lay down a full album ever again, with us being in different states and having full-time jobs and everything like that. It would need to be more of a internet kind of thing, like, maybe I program my drums this time instead of actually playing them, or, we're just tracking guitars through a laptop instead of an actual amp. But
so it's not dead, but it's not very likely that we're ever going to get any more material.
Yeah, I mean, it give us like, maybe, I don't want to say give us some time, but like, never say never at the same time. But yeah, I'm definitely not like trying to like cheeky like tease anything right now. It's like there's some. I mean, if you can find John's SoundCloud account, you can listen to all this stuff I'm talking about, and it's out there. It's not private. It's just online somewhere. It's not like labeled as anything, but it's some really cool stuff. But like, it never got finalized, and we never put it out. So that's what happened with that. But
so I do got to ask you, you made a website, but you called it fearthehowl.com, not Last House on. Well, I guess you can't call it Last House on the Left because it's probably a website already.
Fear the Howl. Yeah. Fear the Howl. We've always had that website. Fear the Howl was the website of Man and Wolf Productions, which was Tyler and his brother, which is kind of like the moniker that we used on like flyers and like anything that like we put together, like, it was kind of like our like label, but it wasn't a label.
Gotcha.
We've always had that domain, and we just kind of use that for this purpose. So yeah, it's I don't know. Tyler always had a thing for wolves. We got a song called "In the Name of the Wolf," and you know all the lyrics, and we got a it's just one of his little things, I guess. So,
well, y'all were gonna call like the what was it? Where was it? Animism. You're gonna call an album Animism or something. And
so that was
I mean, it kind of feels like it was all about werewolves. Yeah,
exactly. But those two titles were basically the same thing. Just we kind of just switched the name up on it. So there's like not like two bodies of work out there. It's just like I said, we just have this pool of unfinished stuff that we can kind of I don't know why I honestly don't know why we decided the T stuff that wasn't done yet. It's just like really dumb. Like I think Tyler just like, or John just kind of wanted that, like, or maybe even me just wanted that shop of dopamine shot, like kind of, I'm gonna do something again, but like, we don't want to release anything super rough either. We're like very, particular about how, we sound, and we don't want to just like lob some shit out there. So, yeah.
Well, the little snippet y'all posted actually sounded pretty good, like production wise. Like I thought that was pretty good.
That was just all, on John's laptop. Yeah, just fake drums and him plugging straight in, and he got really good at that over the years. It's just like on like his janky like laptop that he got like 10 years ago. There's just like running Cool Edit with the most like, just like cracked drum programs, and he never did everything like the right way. He always figured out his own way to do things, and that was funny about John. So yeah.
So in 2017, you guys remastered "The Road Leads Nowhere" and you got it up on streaming platforms. Why did y'all decide to remaster this and not Among Flies?
The Road was easier. We had a closer relationship with Sid, the guy, the engineer who did it, and he's easier to get a hold of. It's also the 10-year anniversary at the time, so we got that done for the 10-year anniversary. And so this vinyl that we're doing now is for the 15-year anniversary. which is a remix remaster. Among Flies 15-year anniversary is in 2 years. I really want to do something. We hit up the guy who mixed the album, and he has not got back to us.
Who is that, by the way? Because I couldn't find recording information.
Neil, fuck, I can't remember his fucking last name. Neil Kernan, I want to say. He did Skinless, like some like really like Nile and a lot of really sick death metal albums.
Okay.
He was a big deal. Tyler paid out of pocket to have him mix the album, and he never really disclosed how much it was. And I don't think he wanted to like alarm us, but he was very dead set on that dude doing it, and he did a really good job. And I have no idea how much he fucking charges, but Tyler took care of that, so thank you. But yeah, I mean, I would love to, re-put that out. But if we can, we just need our hands on the files. So all we have right now are the masters. We don't have the mixes. So if we can get a hold of those mixes to have it remastered or remixed, then I would love to put that out. I have 2 years to figure that out, basically. So
hopefully he still has them. I mean, something that's that old, I don't think I would hold on to the stem.
Yeah, we've tried. He's like an older dude, so he's not like exactly like on Instagram or anything like that. So we're trying every email we can find. There might be old emails, but we're trying. Neil, if you're watching this podcast and you have our tracks, please fucking send them to me.
Come on, Neil.
Thank you very much. Yeah, come on, Neil.
So
that could use a rehaul though. I think it sounds a lot different than the Release to Nowhere, and there was actually some stuff that ended up coming up missing. There's a track on Among Flies that is missing half of the guitar solo.
Really?
Yeah, and since Tyler was so personal with the guy mixing it, John and I never heard rough mixes. We just heard the final product, and then all of a sudden we're listening to it and we get to the solo, and there's this gap where it's just like you just hear keyboards and there should still be a guitar solo going, and we're just like, wait, what? And we're like, Tyler, there's like a guitar solo missing, dude. Like, you didn't catch that? And he's like, oh shit, too late now. And I'm like fuck, dude. Like, all right, like literally, like the best solo on the album is not on the album.
Oh shit, man.
So yeah, he was just being. That was probably one of the when he started maybe to be a little bit difficult, and he was, he's like, I'm gonna go get this mixed by this dude, and I'm gonna be in the room with him the entire time, and you guys don't get to hear anything until after it's done. It's like, okay, but we were just kind of like dealing with it, and then it's like after a while, I just kind of got tired of dealing with stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean that does sound difficult. I don't think I'd be into that either. So in September, it was announced that you guys are going to be dropping vinyl of The Road Leads to Nowhere through Secret Swarm Records. Copies of which are still available at secretswarmrecords.com. How does it feel to finally get the vinyl treatment?
It's awesome. I think at the time, when we put it out, I don't think anyone was thinking about vinyl. You know what I mean? Like that even being a thing that.
Yeah, I think it was completely dead at that point, right?
Yeah, totally. In 06 or even 08 when we put out the other album, like, yeah, bands like deathcore bands were not putting out vinyl straight up. You had to be like a big deal for that to even be a thought, like
right.
Like a Lamb of God or like maybe Black Dahlia was doing vinyl back then, maybe, but obviously the trend over the last like 5 years, CDs dying and vinyl.
And now it's like you have to put out vinyl, like because nobody really.
You have to, yeah. I mean, yeah, the limited variants and the crazy colors, like that's all kids want these days, and they want to feel like they beat out other people to get it, and it's like sneaker collecting almost. And but a lot of them,
exactly like sneaker collecting, 100%.
Yeah, so I get it, but there's also like these kids that just want it so they can flip it later and make some money. And it's like, hey, cool, I get that too. That's capitalism, and that's called making money, and like that's cool. But I feel like most of the kids that bought this so far, are fans. I think I've had a lot of people hitting me up and being like, glad you guys are doing this, and I just picked up my copy, and that's awesome to hear. I think we're like 2/3 of the way through them, so yeah, like you said, you can still go get a copy right now. There's at least one variant left, maybe two, some of two. But yeah, I wanted to do this for a while. I've been trying I tried to do it with a different label who's doing the same thing. The timing just didn't work out. And like right as I basically accepted defeat, Secret Swarm drops into my DMs and they're like, "Hey, we want to do this." And I didn't have to ask them. And it was like, like I mentioned before, like we didn't really tour much. We were always in New Mexico. We never really knew how we were perceived, as far as like the metal community. And so like to hear someone being like, "Yeah, we want to put this out." It's like really fucking awesome. Like that was really cool. And they've been, awesome the whole process, like figuring it out. Like I helped design the variants myself because that's part of what I do in my day-to-day job. And I laid out the
It's
layout
funny
myself.
how
and,
like you got signed first through MySpace and now you like putting out vinyl through Facebook. I think it's hilarious. The next thing's gonna be through Instagram, but
sure, yeah, it's like whatever the next because obviously Facebook is about to die any day now. So what are we on to next? It's been great.
Awesome,
those guys are awesome. They actually, they really care. They're not just doing it for money or to flex that they're doing it. Like they wanted to put out Last House on the Left, and I was like, fucking cool. Like after all this time, like I said, like after all this time, people still care. So that's really cool to me.
Hell yeah, man. You also have a shirt available up there, right?
I think that just came out today. That was only up for a week pre-order. So if you missed that out, that on that, I am sorry to tell you can't get one. But shout out to the dozen people that probably bought one.
So we got a random question here. We ask everybody. What do you put on your hot dogs?
Man, I sauerkraut and mustard usually. I don't really here's the thing. If I can get if they have like the pump nacho cheese, like the cheese that you like pump out of the thing, if that's an option, I will go there. Yeah, but that's not usually an option. So standard sauerkraut and mustard, maybe some onion. Okay, yeah, I can't do I can't do jalapenos anymore. They usually fuck me up really bad, like the acid, whatever.
Yeah,
so I kind of
getting a little old. I gotcha.
Yeah, getting a little old. Yeah, turning 36 in June. So I got the Tums. I'm looking at my Tums over there. Shout out Tums. So yeah, mustard and sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is very underrated. A lot of people don't like it, and I can see why. But if you like it, then I have respect for you.
I don't think I've had sauerkraut in a very long time, so I can't comment on that. But I'm totally down for mustard. When you do the cheese, is that with the sauerkraut and stuff, or is it just cheese and a dog at that point?
I might mix it up, but yeah, nothing wrong with just a cheese dog. Just a
hell yeah, man.
Hot dog with cheese, like the nacho cheese on it. Fuck.
Dude, it's terrible for you, but I would totally take like a hot dog, just dump it in a vat of cheese, man.
You just gotta just pump the cheese out like the like Fuddruckers. If you're like at that thing, you just like.
Dude, I haven't been to Fuddruckers in so long, man. I remember that as a kid though. That was awesome.
I just saw a viral video where like it's like parents asking their little like 2-year-old daughter like, "Where do you want to go eat?" And she's like, "Butt fuckers." And they're like, "No, it's Fuddruckers." And she's like, "Butt fuckers." They're like, "No, Fuddruckers."
I do want to say before we move on, you were asking you were saying that you weren't really sure how you guys were perceived or whatever. I remember seeing you guys on the top of like the MySpace charts like all the time. Because I would check to see where like my stuff's at, you know what I mean? And I would see you guys at the top every single time. Did you have like a bot doing friends people and stuff, or was it just
no?
Like, no, we didn't have any bots or anything like that, or
no, we didn't have anything like that. I think what really helped. So I'm a graphic designer right now. That's what I do for a living. That's how I got my start, was on MySpace, like doing MySpace layouts for bands and like customizing them. And not so much album artwork at the time, just designing MySpace layouts. And like, once I got some bigger clients, like All Shall Perish and like Suicide Silence, and, I was doing work for like making layouts for them. Maybe I politely asked them if they could throw us on their top 8. And maybe they said, yeah, sure, no problem, sounds good. And I think that's when our traffic really picked up, is like, we became friends with like these bands that we were playing shows with, and they would, it wasn't all the time that I had to ask for it. Like we played with a lot of bands, so we became friends with a lot of bands, and but being on the top 8 of like, or top 16 or whatever it became, like of like a band like Suicide Silence, or like I think we were even on the Black Dahlia Murderers for a little bit. Like that definitely brought the traffic up. But I think a lot of it was just like, we had a lot of hype, but it was like deliberate. It was like the way we like marketed ourselves and always like tried to make a big deal out of what we were doing. And it's just like you're presented the tool and you figure out how to use it. Like MySpace, it's like, well, how do we maximize this? We just got to look like we know what we're doing. Like we got to have our page like look sick, and we got to have our production like really good, and have some really cool, I don't know. We were trying a lot of different things at the time, but I think that really helps for sure.
Okay. Do you ever wish that you guys like got out and toured more? Did you only played like out of state like a couple times?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we never had a van. Pat, our bass player, he was driving around his parents' like minivan. So like if we wanted to tour, we had a minivan, and we tried when we played in those Danzig shows and those Antagonist shows in Texas. Like we did that in a 6-passenger minivan. We never had money for anything. We were very broke. Like we didn't, we couldn't even afford like a real batch of shirts. We would print shirts at like intervals of like 15 or 20 at a time. You know what I mean? So like, we never had our shit together. We never had a manager to deal with that stuff. Like the label it was more of a distribution deal. Like they weren't giving us like tour support money or anything like that. They put the album out and that was it. So, if we would have had like, the help or like the resources to do it, we would have definitely done it. It just never came to light ever. So yeah, we got out and did what we did on our own without any real help. But, yeah, definitely, if we didn't break up, I'm sure we'd be touring for sure. Not probably not still, but we would have definitely toured.
Okay. Speaking of touring, what was the best show you guys have played?
So probably, like I mentioned before, our CD release show for The Road Leads to Nowhere was probably like our most wild show as far as like crowd response and the reaction to us. Like the crowd really went off that night. It was awesome. It was packed. And that was when we, really got comfortable and, accepted that people of Albuquerque actually gave a shit about us. So, that was probably our best show. But the one that means the most to me, probably was the first show with Danzig, because that was the first time my dad, who lived in California, got to see me play. I remember like calling him. We played in Ventura, and he lived in basically Temecula, which is like in Lake Elsinore, which is, I don't know, 4 hours south. And then I was driving to the show in Ventura to play with Danzig, and I called him, and he's like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna come." And I was just like, I don't see my dad very often. Like my mom divorced when I was really young. I see him like once a year for a while. And so he told me I was coming. I like started breaking down. I was like crying in the van, and like the dudes were like looking at me. I'm like, "What's going on?" And it was like, "My dad's coming to the show." Oh my God. I was like nervous, but also the most excited I've ever been. And, he got to see me play that night and the next Danzig show in San Diego too, since he was in California. So
that's awesome.
That was like, yeah, like that one meant like actually the most to me for sure.
That's really cool, because you can like point, like show this to your parents, be like, "Hey, I'm successful. Look at this." That's really
yeah.
awesome.
I don't think they definitely, like, my mom came out to shows in Albuquerque, but they were probably mostly like us playing with local bands, and then she probably got tired of that, and she would hear us jamming all the time anyway. So like we were practicing in my mom's house, so she heard us all the time. I didn't expect her to come to many shows, and the ones that she did come to, I'm glad she did. But yeah, playing for my dad the first time, that was the best for me for sure.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what's the worst show you played?
Well, it wasn't like anything about like her performance or anything. We played in Phoenix with, I think, Arsonist Girl, the Girls was headlining, and then Knights of the Abyss, a bunch of other Arizona bands, like maybe A Breath Before Surfacing, and us. We were on the bill somewhere. In the parking lot, we were just minding our own business, like in our minivan, probably smoking weed, probably listening to music like we did before every single show, not giving anybody any trouble. Like literally, we were just like shy, and we were just like all just like very reserved, like introverted dudes. All of a sudden, an entire straight edge gang wants to fucking kick our ass. They said that someone in our band blew blunt smoke in a 14-year-old girl's face. Not the case. Never fucking happened. made up fake news. Fucking dude, we were like, we found out it was like out of a movie. Like, to like main dude with the posse behind him, like, like behind him, just like, what's up? You guys blowing smoke in little girls' faces? Blunt smoke? Like they wanted to. We were just like, what do you even? We've been over there in our van. The whole, when, who, what? Like we were so confused, and they were like, we got people fucking waiting for you back in Albuquerque. You're not even gonna get home. Fucking never come back. Like all this like cliche, like, you know, like it's serious, like out of South Park or something. Like it was like a South Park episode. Like, get out of here, Darsh. It was like, yo, okay. And I think someone from Nights of the Abyss or someone finally came over and they're like, yo, these guys are cool. Like they didn't do that. And like, it just finally just de-escalated somehow. But that was right before our set. So when we played, that room was pretty empty. And then like, you know, there was the whole hardcore, like the straight edge gang that was there did not want to see us. They didn't give a fuck. So they were just outside, like, you know, smoking or whatever. But they did not like us there. So that was definitely our worst show. Yeah. We didn't do anything, man. I swear to God, we didn't do anything to anybody ever at a show, like at that show. Like, so that was just fucking hilarious. It was terrifying, honestly. Like we were.
Oh yeah, like a group of people saying they want to kick your ass.
No, it was like like at least 20 people, like 20 people at least wanted to beat our ass. So yeah, we could have just like, I don't know, what else we could have done there. We were just telling the truth, like we didn't do it, and they finally believed us. So
that's
yeah,
wild,
that was,
dude. What the fuck? The gangs of Albuquerque, man. Like they'll fucking get.
So that was in Phoenix. So that was like,
oh, okay.
We were coming from Albuquerque into their territory too. So they were like, that's why we got people waiting for you when you get back there. Well, it's like, do you though? We never saw anything like that. So yeah, that was shitty. But we were happy to play, you know, in Phoenix and get out of Albuquerque for a bit. So that was cool.
So I feel like this could have fit under this category too, but I feel like you might have something that tops it then. What's your weirdest show you played?
The weirdest show, it was pretty surreal. We played, there's a town in the northwest corner of New Mexico called Shiprock. South by the Indian reservations, up by like Four Corners area, by like where Utah and Colorado and Arizona and New Mexico meet. Mm-hmm. So they don't get shows up there. You know, if they want to go to a show, they got to drive 3.5 or 4 hours to Albuquerque, you know, to come see metal. And we got asked to headline like the first ever like metal fest in Shiprock, New Mexico.
Oh, that's sick.
And so that was cool. And then we showed up, and what was so weird and surreal about it was just the treatment that we got. It was like VIP times 10, not like, you know, like shit that they had for us or anything, but just like the way people were treating us. It was like so, like they were,
oh, they're
so
probably
happy.
Starved for shows over there, man.
They were so happy that we came up there to play for them, and like that was so fucking cool. But it was like overwhelming. Like they were very, you know, like when we left that place, they were chasing our van, chanting "Last House" like out of a movie, like no running way. After our tour van down a dirt road, like "Last House, Last House." We were in between songs, like
that's wild.
Like we were playing in between songs, like tuning and just like, you know, taking some time to like tune between songs, and someone yelled Slayer like everyone does at a metal show. But we went into Raining Blood for a good like 20 or 30 seconds. Like we actually played it and broke it down and like sludged it down, and place was fucking bonkers. Like that was just, we gave them what they wanted, and they were so happy. They were like, after we stopped, they were just like, that's, you know, they were just like so appreciative. But yeah, that place went fucking crazy. The crowd, you know, Native American fans at a metal show, they're the most passionate like fans there. Like every time they come out to a show in Albuquerque, like they're the ones in the pit going crazy. They're the ones fucking headbanging. They love it. And yeah, like it's because we don't get shows in a lot of parts of New Mexico. You know, it's a very like, there's a lot of like very rural parts of the state. And so, yeah, for us to go up there, like it meant a lot to them. And it was just really awesome.
Dude, that is awesome, man. Sometimes the rural shows are like the best ones, you know? Because they're just so excited to get anything up there. That's really sick.
Yeah, that was one of the best shows too, for sure. But it was also the strangest. It wasn't weird. It was just like so different than any other show that we played. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, because I guess at the time you were kind of considering yourself more of like a local band, I guess, like just starting to like get out. Like you might not have felt that y'all were deserving of that kind of attention.
Yeah, like Albuquerque is surrounded by like 300 miles of nothingness on every side. So, that's why we played there so much. And, that was probably the only time that we played. Maybe we played Santa Fe once, I think. But that was the only time that we really like ventured out, and drove home that same night, in 4 hours or whatever it was. But, yeah, that was wild.
That's sick. So now you do design work. You work for Sumerian Records. You've done stuff for Rose Funeral, Born of Osiris, Veil of Maya, Sean, After the Burial, Straight from the Path. Lots of different bands. How'd you get involved with this?
MySpace, man. MySpace. So
did you just send them a message, say, "Hey, check my stuff out. It's awesome." They're like, "Hey, you're hired."
No, not like how we got signed. No. I think I was doing, everything that I was doing for my band, like that was before I realized that I could make money doing it. I was just doing it because I could do it, and I didn't know anyone else that I could really hire to do it. So I just kind of figured it out. And then figuring out how to code MySpace pages and customize them for bands, and all the overlay stuff and all the rules that you could break, that I started to figure out. And people just started hitting me up to do that stuff for their band too. And I remember the first time I got hit up for that, I think Within the Ruins was actually the first band that ever hit me up for anything in like 2005. So that band, they're still around. Within the Ruins is still playing, and
yeah, they like probably just started out then around that time then, right?
Yeah, and they were totally just like a metalcore band, like a Killswitch sounding like metalcore band back then.
Oh really?
But
I didn't know that.
They messaged me and they're like, "Hey, we'll pay you. Like, can we pay you to like make a banner for us?" And like that thought never even like occurred to, like a little GIF banner. I was like, "You guys want to pay me to do this?" Like, like a little light, like a little Beavis and Butthead light bulb, like a little man. Like, oh, I can actually do this for other people. And then people started needing show flyers. And then I landed the gig doing show flyers for this guy on the East Coast, Jason Melhoit. And his band, Too Pure to Die, was on Sumerian. So that's how he put me in contact with Sean at Sumerian, who's not there anymore. And I just got an instant message on AIM one day, just like, "Hey man, can you like do a logo for a band called Born of Osiris?" This is like 2007. That was when they were about to put out their first album. And so I did that. And then, maybe a few weeks later they needed something else. And that kind of snowballed into them like needing so much from me that I couldn't really like, like, "Hey, can you like get on our MySpace and like update it and like take this stuff down?" It's like, "Yeah, but like what do I charge for that?" You know what I mean? Like, what do I charge to go like hop on your MySpace and clean stuff up? Like, and so then they put me on like a retainer kind of situation. And then that turned into them having me move out to LA in 2012 after the band had broke up. So I'd been in California for like the last 8 years, working in Sumerian and out of the office. And then the pandemic happened. And so now I am, remote working in Las Vegas, doing the Zoom thing. But yeah, I've been just in Photoshop every day for the last fucking 15 years of my life. And, yeah, so here I am.
That's actually pretty sick, man. Like, you got to work with some awesome bands. Do you work with them on awesome like band. A personal level, or is it like you go through somebody else and they go through that person to like communicate?
It's like half and half. Like the times where I actually get access to the band, a lot of managers are protective of their artists, so I'm dealing with a manager who then hits up the artist, and then is like the middleman.
Yeah. And
that slows things down, obviously. But anytime I can work directly with the band on something, yeah, that's, when the magic happens for sure. And then when the band actually, as a graphic designer, it's like a lot of the times you're given an idea that you're just supposed to make happen. You know what I mean? And then there's times where you actually get to have input and be like, well, maybe we should try this, or like, have you guys ever heard of this? Or, like, and, so yeah, the best work definitely comes like, yeah, it's like the mix of both. Like I get to talk to the band, but they also just trust me to do my own thing. Like, that's ideal situation, like a Venn diagram of situations that could happen there. It's like, all right, we want you to do it like this, and we're going to say exactly how you're going to do it. I definitely deal with that a lot. That is not an ideal situation, scenario, but, I do, it's like it's my job to like make someone's vision come to life, or if they don't have a vision, I have to come up with it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the thing that you're most proud of, like art wise? That didn't come out right. What's the piece of art that you're most proud of? There we go.
Yeah. It's probably a toss up. There's a few things that, like a few album covers that like were a little bit more personable to me, I guess. Like the stuff I've done for Chan, is probably always going to be like what I would consider my best work.
Dude, it's
the Grove,
sick. The one with the leaf on it. I'm not a huge fan
yeah,
of Chan, so I don't know names of albums, but the one with the leaf on it
Grow.
with the paint on it and stuff, that looks so sick.
Yeah, that was the first time I had ever got really hands on with a project. Um, I had also like Eric and Mario, the guitarists from the bands, were there with me, like helping me paint these leaves, at my dad's house, with my dad too. So we all got to contribute, and like my dad ended up having like this, like, I went in with like this idea of how I wanted to do it, and I was gonna like hang a leaf by a fucking like a little like thing of like fishing line and like have the paint drip off, and I was like, yeah, that's how it's gonna work. And then we tried and it was not going to happen. Like the thing kept spinning and like, it's just like, oh fuck. And like, didn't really have a plan B. And then like, luckily my dad was there. He'd be like, well, if you did it like this, you just taped it to this backdrop and you just kind of like put it on there. And then you just kind of like angle it. And like, this is why thank you, Dad. You know what I mean? Like he just came up with all these ideas. So, yeah, working on it with him, with the dudes, and it being something that I actually got hands on and just didn't do in Photoshop. And then I also took like the photos myself too. And that was the first time I'd ever really used my camera on a project.
I was gonna say, I thought all this stuff was done in Photoshop, but it's like hands-on stuff too. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was all practical. Yeah, it was like paint on leaves and photos. I might have like enhanced some colors or contrast a little bit after the fact, but yeah, that was just a very gratifying project. I think that's the best word. Is like, it was very gratifying to get your hands literally dirty and do something out of your comfort zone, I guess.
That's sick,
and then the other one, I guess, probably After the Burial, Evergreen, because they really just like, I had a vision. I told the band, and they were just like, "Fucking knock yourself out." And I took my new camera and I went on a trip. And I don't often have a vision ahead of time that I then execute or whatever. I just kind of jump into stuff and it just kind of falls into place, or I kind of get lucky along the way. But that was the first time I was like, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to make it happen. And it came out pretty sick, I think. So it was more of like it's also the first time I was like kind of ditched having like going for having an album cover with something or like some main focal element to just going for a vibe, like to invoke like a feeling, or like just I want to get people on the same level so that they feel a certain way when they listen to something. You know what I mean? Like, so it wasn't about like what is it on the album cover. It's just like more of like, how does that make me feel?
Well, landscape picture. I just
right,
because I didn't know what it was, but
right,
yeah, just like kind of setting
the layout's
mood,
pretty extensive. Yeah, the layout's pretty extensive, and it was just a lot of photos I took in Colorado of. There's a lot of elements. The lyrics are just like, there's something, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but one thing I do is I go through lyrics and I try to find like common threads in songs, and like if I find that he's talking about the same thing in multiple songs, I consider that like something to kind of focus in on more. And Anthony, the vocalist, like there's always something about coldness or the cold, or the winter or the snow, or like that's just like inadvertently pops up in a lot of his stuff. So I just really wanted to like
highlight that,
paint that sort of picture. Yeah, so that's how that came together. But hopefully, I don't know, I'm not really working on anything right now that I can like hype up or anything, but hopefully my next project is the one I'm most proud of. You know what I mean? So
okay. Did you do all the artwork and stuff for Last House as well?
No, just like the promotional stuff, like our flyers and stuff. We Road Leads to Nowhere was before his fall, Jeff Wagner, who was very notorious on MySpace for ripping bands off. And he would like, there was a thing for a while where like a few bands got the same design from him. And like
Nice.
so he would charge, like, I think it happened at Burning the Masses and All Shall Perish. They both bought the same design of Darth Vader smoking a bong, and they both like put it out at the same time, basically. And so like kids were like, that's when he was like the gig was up for Jeff at that point. Like it was, everyone was like, yo, like, who is this guy selling the same design in fucking two bands? So like, I love Jeff. He was a great dude. I don't know what he was dealing with back then, but that was not right. But and then the second guy for Among Flies that did that painting is Simon Beasley. He was like he still is a very well-renowned like comic book artist. He did like Lobo and a lot of stuff for like heavy metal. So he's been around for a while, but that was like an actual like big ass painting that we had to get professionally scanned.
Oh shit. Do y'all own that?
Yeah.
Does someone in the band own it?
Tyler does. Yeah, Tyler owns it. It's
That's awesome. Every time I talk to a band that has an album cover that's actually painted, they never own it, and I'm like, God, that would be like the first thing I would do is buy. He had to
pay an extra like $2,000 to own the original.
Good Lord, $2,000. Okay, now I see why these bands don't own it.
on top of what he paid to get it done.
Right.
Yeah. So he probably spent a lot. That was another thing too. Like I said, he paid for all the mixing too. He wanted the album artwork done a certain way by a certain person, and we were just like, all right, dude, go for it. Like, never disclosed how much it cost or anything, but it was out of his pocket, and it's just, we cared about doing things the right way so much. It was like, I'll fucking pay for it myself if I have to. So glad he did. But yeah, that painting is wild. It's like, for anyone not looking at it, it's a decapitated pig's head on a stake, like Lord of the Flies, and it's decayed. But on the painting, all the decay is like, there's a good like relief on that painting of like a few inches in some parts where it's like 3D, but it's all like tissue paper, like crumpled tissue paper with paint. So like the relief is actually there. There's like shadows and stuff like that. So it's wild to look at. It's not just a painting.
I think we can bring it up real quick. So did y'all have like any input on what it was going to be, or did y'all just let the artist like?
Yeah, Tyler had like a rough like sketch of it, and Lord of the Flies being a big influence for, I think for the whole album in general, or maybe just a song, but that was what he wanted to go for.
We got it up on the stream now. Did he also do the logo for you guys?
I did that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks sick. I never would have imagined this was a real painting. Actually, I totally thought this was something in Photoshop. So it's cool to know that it actually exists.
Yeah, I'm looking at my screen now. Yeah, it's the real painting is probably like 3 foot by like 1.5 feet, so it's pretty decent size.
Okay.
It's like we had to couldn't just like scan it at our house. We had to go somewhere to get it done. So
that's sick.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the last thing you listened to?
I think it was Sleep Token, honestly. The new Sleep Token album that just came out on Friday. Oh
yeah, they're pretty sick.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know who Sleep Token is, they're a UK band. I think it's just one dude who does everything, and then when he tours, he brings in other dudes. I could be wrong, but this dude's a fucking genius, and he's brilliant as fuck. He's just doing something different and like making people feel something like visceral, like he really pulls some fucking heartstrings with his vocals and lyrical content, and the way the songs are put together. It's like, it's intense. Like I had to take a break because I was sobbing after a track. Let's just put it that way. Like literally, like almost had to pull my car over because I didn't think it was safe to be crying and driving at the same time.
God damn, dude.
Yeah, it's intense stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think they kind of threw people a swerve with this new album. The last stuff was a lot heavier, and this is a lot more like piano and vocal based, and heavy parts are just kind of sprinkled in here and there. And I think it's great, but I think I'm interested to see what the reaction of the kids who were just expecting brutal breakdowns on every track, like what that they're gonna say. But I'm kind of past all that, so I just like appreciate things for what they are instead of like hoping that there's something there that whatever.
So what's your album of the year so far? I assume that one.
I haven't spent enough time with it yet. It just came out on Friday. I'm really, man, these days, like I'm not really listening to metal as much as other things. I'm listening to a lot of weird electronic based, almost slightly goth kind of like, if it's depressing sounding, I probably like it. I don't really listen to happy music. Metal these days and deathcore, it's got to be something extremely unique for me to actually care about it and for me to actually listen to it. But if we're talking in general, or if we're talking like heavy albums of the year, I think heavy wise, I think Slaughter to Prevail has their latest album is probably, maybe it's just biased. I'm on Sumerian, or I work for Sumerian and they're on Sumerian, but they just put out a fucking monster album. But I think in general, my album of the year, dude, yeah, you put me on the spot here. I don't know. That new Leprous album is really good. I don't know if you listen to Leprous at all.
I haven't checked that album out, actually. I've heard their older stuff before. You know, the Sick Band.
Yeah, okay. This stuff kind of goes back to some of their older stuff, but that's a band that, you know, it's kind of hit and miss of like, if you show someone this band, you know, you got a 50-50 shot of them actually appreciating it, or the vocals, which are very high pitched, like turning them off instantly. I found like, I love them. So when I show them to people, like that's the first thing they'll say, like, I can't do the vocals, they're too high pitched. That album's pretty brilliant. The drummer is the best drummer around, I think. Leprous has the best drummer around, I think, for sure.
All right.
But yeah, you put me on the spot there. So that was just like, out of the recent albums I've been listening to, yeah, I don't think it's still September. I think I need a little bit more time to figure that out.
Yeah, I guess
Between the Buried and Me,
a lot of
between the Buried and Me, shit. Hold on. Between the Buried and Me, Colors 2, out now on Sumerian Records, is also fucking amazing. I think a lot of their fans will probably say that that's their best album so far. So I don't think that's any stretch of any bias. They just dropped a fucking classic album. So that's probably it so far, honestly. Yeah, Colors 2.
Okay. Yeah, there's gonna be some more sick ones coming out next 2 months, I'm pretty sure. So you know, things may change, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, it's about all I had to talk about. Unless you had something else you wanted to bring up.
Hold on. You know what? I'm just gonna look at these. I haven't looked at these comments in the chat yet. Let me see if we're missing anything here. Okay. Okay. Yeah, a little B2 band love. Eat a Helicopter is fucking beast. Yeah. Okay. Shout out to Eat a Helicopter one more time. No, I think that's it, man. I really wanted to tell that Danzig story, and I'm kind of like regretting it. Did I go too hard on Danzig? I hope I didn't like offend any Danzig fans out there. It happened. I'm not making any of that up. So I mean, you know, it's not like I'm like.
I think he's kind of a meme now, and he knows he's kind of a meme. Like he has to.
He's a great, yeah. Like I said, he was so nice to us, and we. I mean, he asked for us. He invited us on those shows, man. That was awesome. He actually also got really upset. We played 2 shows with him, and the first night we didn't get paid, and the second night he found out, and he was like genuinely like he was really upset. He's like, "What? That's nonsense." He was like freaked out, and we're like, "Damn, Danzig had our back." So I can say that.
That's fucking sick.
About him. Yeah, that was awesome. But other than that, no, I mean, you know, just wanted to make sure that I gave enough love to Albuquerque and all the people that actually care about the band. Cause like I said, yeah, like we never really knew, you know, how we were perceived. And so, yeah, I mean, all these people that are hitting me up about the vinyl and how they got one, you know, commenting all these years later, I just, you know, want to make sure that people know that we appreciate that. So I think that's all I got.
Hell yeah, man.
Also, shout out to my mom for letting us make so much noise and fucking crank the electric bills and, you know, have all sorts of weird bands come stay with me. And, you know, them just, they were downstairs. My parents were right underneath me. I had the entire upstairs where we jammed and where I slept and where people hung out. And so they dealt with, you know, some fucking bullshit for like 5 years. We were all very like respectful, but like people running up and down. Imagine having a staircase right above your bed when you're trying to go to bed, and there's 15 people running in and out to, you know, get stuff from their van and like trampling up the stairs and down them, and they're old stairs. So they're just like squeaking, and like they had to like take fucking like Xanax and shit to like just knock themselves out probably. And just like, you know, God bless them. But yeah, I just want to make sure my mom is probably listening to this right now. So I just want to make sure that she knows that we appreciated all that.
Well, shout out to Daniel's mom. Shout out to moms in general. Like moms don't get enough credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And she made a lot of, interesting friends. Like the time that Rose Funeral stayed with me, and she had to ask one of the guys what the 666 on the back of his neck meant, and he's just quickly like he's like, "Oh, I'm a huge Iron Maiden fan." I thought that was like the best reaction to that. Just cool as a cucumber. Oh, Iron Maiden fan. And she was like, "Sure." Really, she's just very like, non-judgmental, but at the same time, just like, who the fuck are these people staying in my house? I'm sure. But yeah, we had a lot of bands come through there, and a lot of fun playing in Albuquerque, and wish we would have got out more, and played in the States and stuff, but, or around the world even. It would have been awesome, obviously, but, we had a fun time in the 5 years that we, did our things, and yeah, it's fun to look back on like this. This is fun. I'm glad you had me on here.
Dude, absolutely. I'm glad that you came on. You aren't involved in any other projects, right now?
Somewhat, kind of in a project called Here in Spirit. We're definitely not a band. We're just dudes making some music and stuff, and it's definitely not death metal by any means. It's probably more what you'd call like post rock. It's like retired, like dudes who used to play death metal playing music when they can't play death metal anymore. That's basically what it is. Bjorn the guitar player Bjorn was in Abigail Williams and Vehemence. So, he's done the thing too. And now we just want to make music that we like. That's also like kind of a bummer to listen to. So, we're just writing some depressing sounding vibey music and having fun with it. But
do you have like music out?
We have an EP out, and we're working on another one right now. Yeah. So you can go find Here in Spirit on Spotify somewhere.
Here in Spirit is what you call it, right?
Yeah, definitely not death metal or deathcore or anything like that. But
alrighty. I'll definitely throw that down in the description to anyone listening to this.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, if you haven't heard Last House on the Left, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's an awesome band. You gotta check it out. So the band is on Facebook and Bandcamp. Your personal stuff is on Facebook and Instagram. I'll definitely have links to all that stuff in the description. You can also pick up some vinyl over at vinyl and the shirt I guess is done now over at secretswarmrecords.com. As for me, drop my channel a follow so you always know when I go live. You can also sub to get access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and streaming services, as well as get some exclusive emotes. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube folks, if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, click the notification bell, don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support me for free. Check out my music, The Sound That Ends Creation, at thesoundthatendskreation.bandcamp.com. Pre-orders for my new album, Boomers, Zoomers, Desperate Coomers, are up right now. My next guest is 30 Seconds Go, who's finally dropping something after making us wait for 2 years. Join us this Wednesday, the 29th at 7 p.m. Central for the live cast. Thanks for being here, Daniel. Hope you had a good time.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for watching and listening.